crossing the street. Unfortunately, a lot of kids don't. And what's even more unfortunate is that a lot of cars don't yield to them. That's why some 700 Louisiana children were struck by cars last year while riding their bicycles. And 11-year-old Andy Soape was one of them. He was a carefree child in this photo, just 2 weeks before he met a careless driver.
They were going down the road, and the 2 little boys crossed the highway ahead of Andy. He had stopped to tie his shoestring. He got back on his bike and crossed the road, and when the car hit him, it threw him up in the air. Supposedly, he hit on his head 4 times on the car before he hit the ground. And when he hit the ground, he was face down in the ditch.
Andy was rushed to West Park Hospital in Hammond. That's where his mother, Sandy Soape, found him.
I went to grab him, and I was saying, "My God, baby, you broke your leg." And one of the nurses grabbed me by the arm, and she says, "Don't touch him, Miss Soape. There's a possibility his neck's broken." And then I realized he was unconscious.
And that's how Andy stayed. He had a closed head injury that made the broken leg seem more like a bee sting. He was transferred to St. Jude's, where the medical team did everything they could, but the prognosis remained bad. Recovery from mid-brain injuries like his is less than 10%.
A smaller percentage of that, say 1% or less than 1% out of that remains, has a functional recovery that doesn't remain in a permanent vegetative state.
And I asked him, I said, "Do you mean my son's dying?" And he said, "Miss Soape, I can't give you any hope."
But Sandy wouldn't give up hope.
Mrs. Soape was not ready. Even when her own son was ready to let go, her other son, Mrs. Soape was not ready.
But neither was Andy. After more than 2 months in a coma, he woke up. But this Andy was different, serene, sensitive, not quite like he used to be.
Before the accident, he was just a mean little boy, really.
A mean little boy.
Oh, he thought it was funny if you were sitting here drinking coffee and got up and walked in the other room and come back, he'd pour salt in your coffee. He's more sensitive to what you think about him now.
But things did seem more normal when Andy finally got rid of his body cast after wearing one off and on for about 14 months.
There's scar all down my leg.
It's going to be therapy at this point and getting his muscle tone back and getting his joints moving again.
All right.
But rehabilitation's old hat to Andy. He spent last year just relearning to use his hands. And to understand how difficult it was for Andy to do this, we spent time with 4-year-old Michael Clay. He suffered a similar brain injury. We watched as he struggled.
Look up here at this man.
I don't think now it'll ruin his life. He's got too much drive, too much determination.
7, 8, 9, 10.
While the numbers don't always add right and Andy's eyes don't quite focus, his number didn't come up.
I consider Andy Soape a miracle.
Whether it was a miracle or not, Andy was lucky in more ways than one. He had good emergency care and lots of support from his family. And from special friends whose lives he touched.
You know, it just took my pain.
Bill Littleton had undergone heart surgery the night Andy came to St. Jude's. They were in intensive care together. They became inseparable buddies.
There was times I'd like to give up. But thinking about him just turned me around, you know.
I love you.
And Mr. Bill told you that?
Yes.
Whenever I see you, well, say, I love you.
How about if we let you start putting some weight on it, but you still have to use your crutches?
want to read some more.
And to top off this special treat, later that day, Andy's friend Bill made a surprise visit. They hadn't seen each other in more than a year.
Got you a pole, I got you a hat.
And as Andy and Bill tested out their new fishing poles, suddenly, strangely, it seemed that although Andy went through a terrible ordeal, there may have been a greater purpose after all. And we're very happy to say that Andy's doing great. And he and his friend Bill are still planning on taking that fishing trip they've been talking about for some time. Something about catching, tons of fish that are at least that big. Or so they say. All the people you've met tonight are normal people who are winners. Because despite what happened to them, they didn't give up. And they'll probably never give in. And that is beating the odds. Good night.